good evening guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or maybe even good morning depending on what time of day you're watching this. Many thanks to everybody that put through requests via my Instagram page for what sort of classes that you would like for me to upload. So today is going to be a nice deep flow, deep stretchy flow. So moving relatively slowly, working into some nice deep holds. So perhaps is good for when your body is feeling a little bit tight, perhaps after a long period of not doing anything or after a heavy workout. Or maybe if you're just feeling a little bit lethargic, a little bit low on energy, and you just want something that's some nice movement for you. So I am sitting on a block because I find it much more comfortable to be able to sit cross-legged if I elevate my hips a little bit. So perhaps you would find the same, but it's just an option. Let your hands rest out onto your knees or your thighs, maybe into your lap. Let yourself just close your eyes a moment so you start to settle in. Taking yourself some nice deep breaths. So really filling the lungs all the way to the top before exhaling and letting it all go. Let's do a few more of those. Big inhale all the way to the top. Big exhale. Maybe let it go out through the mouth. It's a lovely way to release tension. Again, nice big inhale. Feel your chest rise. As you exhale, let a little bit more tension go from the shoulders and the neck, and just feel yourself sinking down against the block. And then you can choose to keep your eyes closed if you like. It's a nice way to stay calm and focused. We're going to take our left hand across onto the right thigh, your right hand just behind you. Sitting the spine nice and tall as we twist, looking over the right shoulder, keeping yourself nice and upright. And maybe just feeling how that twist feels in your body. Does it feel really accessible to you today? Maybe you're feeling quite stiff and tight and you've not found much movement here, but just going with it. Take another inhale, keep lifting the chest. As you exhale, come back round to the centre, straight over to the other side. Right hand reaches across to the left thigh. Left hand behind you helps you to keep your spine tall. Using your exhales to gently draw against that leg, taking your gaze over the left shoulder, keeping your waist lightly hugging in to make space for the twist in the lower belly. Lovely, stay for another inhale here. As you exhale, coming back to the centre, let your arms just comfortably rest again towards the legs. Sit yourself nice and tall, and then just let your right ear fall towards your right shoulder. So making sure that's the ear to the shoulder and not the shoulder to the ear. Starting to feel a nice lengthening along the left side of the neck. Let the head be really heavy. And you can choose to stay with it here, or perhaps you want to rest your hand onto the side of your head just to add a little bit extra. Keep thinking of that left shoulder being nice and heavy. And then gently releasing back to the centre. Straight to the other side. Left ear towards left shoulder. Think of the right shoulder dropping down, so you've created lots of length through the side of the neck. And again, option if you want to add a little bit more, you can rest the hand just lightly onto the head and feel that extra stretch. Lovely, releasing that. Now I like to take the block out of the way and make sure I'm on my sit bones for this next fold. So we're going to stay in a cross-legged seat. Make sure you're on almost like the top of your hamstrings and onto your sit bones so that you're not curled under into your lower back. And then take a nice big inhale, reach your arms high to the sky, palms to face forwards. Keep reaching up, and then as you exhale, reach forwards. Let the hands come to rest onto the mat in front of you. Drop your chin down towards your chest so that you can relax the neck. You're thinking of your belly folding towards your crossed legs beneath you. And allow yourself to again take some nice deep breaths, filling the back of the lungs. Sinking the belly and the chest down as you breathe out. Great, we'll stay just for a couple more breaths. Take another inhale. Keep thinking long out through the chest to go forwards. Exhale to sink down. Lovely. Walk your hands back in so that you're upright, and then we're going to roll over the knees into a tabletop position. So bringing your hands out in front of you. Make sure that your shoulders are above your wrists, your hips are right above your knees, and you found that little lift in your lower belly to flatten out your lower back. From here, as you inhale, drop the ribs to the mat, lift the chest, look a little bit forwards into your cow pose. As you exhale, rounding the back, chin to the chest, pushing the spine to the sky. Inhale, rolling through, chest comes forward, sit bones press up. And exhale to round. And then keep making these two shapes. You can do so at your own pace. Perhaps you're breathing a little faster or a little slower than I am. So just move at the pace that feels natural for you. Finding the peak of each shape at the peak of each breath. Good, and then either just carry on with these two shapes, or if you want to take any other shapes that perhaps just feel a little bit more authentic to you, perhaps you might want to start barrel rolling the ribs. So that moves you between the two shapes, the two cat and cow shapes, but it adds a little bit of lateral movement in there. The ribs push out left and right as you sort of roll your ribs in a circular shape. But doing any sort of movements here that feel good, perhaps you want to sink your hips towards your heels or roll your weight forwards, just finding a little bit of movement in the spine, in the torso. And then bringing yourself back to your neutral tabletop shape, tucking the toes behind you, let the knees lift off of the mat, the hips press to the sky, making your way into your first downward dog. And if you'd like to pedal out the legs, then of course, allow yourself to find that length down the back of the calves, into the ankles. Maybe just taking a nod of the head, a yes and no shape, just to keep that neck nice and relaxed. Really let your head dangle here. So think chin to the chest, gazing back towards the thighs, maybe higher up towards the belly. Then let your legs become still. The heels are pushing down, the shoulder blades are staying broad across the upper back. Thighs push backwards as you hold that belly in towards your spine. Good, we're going to stay here for another couple of breaths. Keep strong and straight through those arms. Try to maintain a soft face, soft breath. And just allow yourself to remain calm. Good, and then with the left leg, as you inhale, we're going to reach the foot to the sky for a three-legged dog, keeping the leg as straight as you can. Right heel still presses down towards the mat. As you exhale, draw that foot up towards the top of the mat. We're going to take it wider than the left hand, so we're coming into lizard here. So it's wide off the left side. You can just bring your left hand in a little bit if you're struggling for space. But you're thinking now of dropping the torso to the inside of the thigh. You can either choose to bring a block in, perhaps for a middle ground of somewhere to lower your forearms to. Maybe, depending on the range that you have in your hips, maybe you want to take your hands onto the block to make it that little bit more accessible for you. Lots of options to work with. You're pressing out and away from you through that back heel, drawing your chest long out in front of you. Great, keep that chest pulling forward. Stay in your lizard lunge for one more inhale here. As you exhale, drop your back knee to the floor and untuck your back toe. So now the top of the foot is onto the mat. We're going to return up onto the hands, if that's not where we are already. Front foot, turn the foot out at about 45 degrees, so it's hanging off the side of your mat. Then using your left hand, you're going to let that thigh roll away from you. So you're turning onto the little toe edge of this front foot. As you turn your torso towards this leg, push the knee away and think of the underside of your right hip dropping down towards the mat. So it's a big old opener, external rotation into this left hip. Just allow yourself to feel that sinking sensation through the pelvis. That's going to help open into the hips. And then all you have to do is stay there, which is easier said than done. Keeping that torso turned slightly towards the leg, pressing this front foot down against the mat if you're looking for a little bit more in the stretch, or perhaps just staying in the shape that you've made, trying to encourage your body to calm and to stay soft. And then let that foot roll back in, turn the toes so all 10 toes face the front of the mat. We're going to step the left foot straight back into downward facing dog. Coming straight onto the right side, inhale, reach the toes to the sky, keeping the leg as straight as you can. Left heel pushes down towards the mat. As you exhale, draw the foot to the top of the mat, just wider than your right hand, coming into lizard, sinking the torso to the inside of the leg, pressing that back heel away from you so your back leg is as straight as you can make it. Same options as before, using a block in whichever way feels more appropriate for your body. And then allowing yourself just to find stillness here. Trying to prevent the need to keep fidgeting or readjusting. Just try and sit with the stretch. Allow yourself to focus on your breathing so you can sink and ease yourself into it. Okay, one more breath here. As you exhale, drop the back knee down, untuck the toes, the top of the foot is now on the mat, and come back onto the hands if you were on the elbows. Turning your right foot out at about 45 degrees, making sure it's still wide off the side of the mat. Use your right hand to let that thigh roll away from you, making sure there's a bit of a twist going on in the torso, sinking the front side of the left hip down towards the floor, and using as much sort of strength in that right arm as feels comfortable for you to keep that thigh drawing wide. As before, if you're looking for a little bit extra, press the little toe edge of the foot down into the mat. Otherwise, just keep breathing, keep sinking the pelvis and opening into the hips. Great, inhale here. As you exhale, let the foot turn back to the center. Now we're going to walk all the way around to the left side of the mat. Maybe take a block with you if hamstrings are feeling a little tight today. So we're going to turn the toes so all of them are pointing towards the left-hand side of the mat. Fingertips resting onto the floor, maybe onto a block if the floor is too much of a reach away. Slightly turning the toes inwards so we're a little bit pigeon-toed. Engage the thighs on the front of the leg. Inhale, lift your chest and lengthen your spine out forwards. As you exhale, allow yourself to fold. Think of compressing your belly down towards where your thighs sort of would be if your legs were together. Your sit bones are pushing up towards the sky, and you can use your hands against the mat to push down and in the direction of sort of, towards the left-hand side of the mat to help you deepen your fold. Keep squeezing hold of the muscles on the front of the legs, allowing the back of the legs to lengthen. The weight is a little bit forward towards our toes, so the back of the legs have that lightness about them. The sit bones can push to the sky. Each time you breathe in, think of the spine lengthening, growing taller out the crown of your head. As you exhale, either pausing to find comfort or perhaps using that opportunity to deepen your fold. Good, inhale, rise to your halfway lift, onto the fingertips or onto the block, draw the chest forwards. As you exhale, walk the hands back around to the front of the mat, stepping your foot all the way back into down dog. Press those thighs backwards, find that nice opening through the armpits. Sit bones to the sky, belly hugging in towards the mat. So with the left leg again, we're going to inhale and send the leg to the sky for three-legged dog. We're then going to let that leg in the sky bend. Think of your heel falling towards your right bum, so the knee is now lifting to the sky. There's a little bit of a twist going on in the torso. You might want to look underneath your left armpit, but keep knee towards the sky as you draw the heel towards your bum. As you exhale, draw the knee back underneath the body. We're going to take the left knee towards the left wrist, coming into pigeon. The shin is diagonal across the middle of the mat, making sure that we're staying pointing forwards with the hips And the hands can rest towards the floor. Whilst you shuffle your way into it, allow the pelvis to sink down towards the mat. Take just a breath here as you stay upright, lift the chest. As you exhale, you can let yourself come down onto your forearms. Perhaps you would want to keep going, sending your arms all the way out and letting your forehead come to rest onto the mat. Try to keep a forwards feeling in the body, so the chest is pulling forwards towards the front edge of the mat. And notice how if you do that, you can sort of feel that little bit of an extra stretch on that left side. Using a nice slow and controlled exhale to allow the body to melt down to the mat. Great, then walking your hands all the way back in. We're going to, if you need to, shuffle the back knee in a little bit, depends on how far you let that leg go out. We're going to send this left leg all the way back to the sky into its three-legged dog. Let the leg bend back into the little sort of peeing three-legged dog, knee to the sky. And you can choose to stay here, or if you want to take a little flipped dog into Wild Thing, place that foot onto the mat behind you. Right leg is straightening out as you're turning your chest towards the sky. Left arm alongside the left ear. Finding a nice arc shape with the body. Inhale here. As you exhale, returning yourself into your down dog. Flip the dog back over. Reshuffle the feet if you need to find your alignment here. Feet are hip distance apart, hands are shoulder width apart. And then this time with the right leg, inhale, lift it to the sky, three-legged dog. Exhale, let that hip open, heel towards the bum, bend that knee. Knee is pointing towards the sky, strong through the arms to keep the chest pressing back towards the legs. As you exhale, drawing the knee underneath the body, let it come, right knee towards right wrist, into pigeon. The shin is parallel, well, not parallel depending on what your hips are like. Your shin is diagonal across the mat. Let the hips sink low, but not to the point where you're sitting off into a gap on one side, making sure you're pointing forwards. Once you're comfortable, forearms can come down to the mat. Maybe keep on going, sending the arms out ahead of you and your forehead to the floor. Breathing in and breathing out. Great, walk your hands all the way back in. Coming up, maybe shuffling that back knee in a little bit. We're sending the leg all the way to the sky, into the three-legged dog. Finding again that open hip variation with the knee to the sky, heel towards your bum. And maybe if you're flipping the dog, you're letting that foot gently come to place onto the floor behind you. Left leg straightens out, try to plant the toes. Turning the chest to the sky, reaching the arm up and over. Keeping the hips lifted and the chest open. Breathing in. And as you breathe out, returning the dog back to its original shape. Downward facing dog. Pressing the thighs backwards. Keeping the neck nice and loose, chin towards the chest. And then from here we're going to lower the knees down onto the mat, finding your tabletop position. Coming into puppy pose. So you can walk your hands away from you to allow the chest to sink down towards the mat. In puppy pose, we're keeping the hips on top of the knees. Don't let them come forwards with the rest of the body. The forehead to rest down. Arms want to stay narrow in towards your ears, taking them a little bit wider to give your shoulders more room if perhaps that's too intense. As you take some nice deep breaths, feel how it's expanding the back of the lungs and a little bit out towards the left and the right. Exhale, allowing your chest to sink. Now, depending on what sort of shape your puppy pose makes, if your forehead is on the floor and your chest is feeling very close to the floor, I'm trying to make sure that I don't muffle my microphone here, you can lift your gaze to look forwards, and maybe the chin can rest onto the mat. With the chin onto the mat, you have a little bit more room to then keep pressing the chest towards the floor, finding a deeper expression of the pose. So only if you're looking for more. Lovely. Staying for another deep inhale here. As you exhale, walking your hands all the way back in. Allow yourself to swing the legs round to come round in front of you. Taking both legs out onto the mat, knees and toes point to the sky and backs of the thighs press down against the floor. You can take your hands next to your hips to find staff pose to begin with. Roll the shoulders back to broaden the chest. Flex the toes, drawing them back towards the shins. Good, so the legs are nice and active, the spine is nice and tall and long. And then from here, with an inhale, reach your arms high, so you're lengthening the sides of the body, growing tall out the roof of the head. As you exhale, keep that length as you fold the body forwards, maybe holding on to the outsides of the feet, choosing perhaps to use a strap, lassoing the feet with a strap if the feet are that little bit too far out of reach for you. But whatever it is you're holding on to, as you inhale, think of your chest drawing out towards your toes. And as you exhale, think of compressing your belly towards your thighs. Allow yourself to fold. You can let the neck be soft. You can let the head drop and dangle a little. And it's your choice. With each and every breath, you can either use the breath to find a little bit more calm and comfort here, or you can use it to deepen. If we're deepening, we're inhaling, creating length through the spine. Think of your ribs pulling out towards your knees. As you exhale, drawing against the feet, keeping them flexed, allowing the body to compress against the legs. Great, take one more inhale. On the exhale, releasing the legs, allow yourself to rise all the way back up to seat. We're going to take the right leg, crossing it over the top of the left, ground down through the whole sole of the foot. The left leg can then curl underneath. Make sure both sit bones are sunk to the floor, choosing perhaps to sit onto a block if this right one won't go down, because that's just the mobility in our hips. So from here, making sure we're grounded in both sides of the pelvis. Right hand is going to go behind us. Inhale, left arm to the sky. And as you exhale, elbow to the outside of the thigh. So we're twisting, looking over the right shoulder. This left elbow is drawing or sort of pushing the leg closer in towards the torso. And each time you're breathing in, you're lifting the chest. And each time you're breathing out, you're narrowing the waist twist. Lovely, and then undoing the twist, coming back to the centre. We're simply going to switch the legs over. So send the right leg out straight. Find your right leg out straight. Your left leg is going to cross over the top. Press down through the ball of the foot, trying to keep the whole sole of the foot grounded. Curling the right leg underneath. And again, if it's this sit bone that floats away, the block would be the best place for you to go. Ground down through that sit bone in whichever way you're sat. Left hand behind you is your little kickstand to sit tall. Inhale, send your right arm up. Exhale, take the arm as far around the thigh as you can. Find the connection first. Then as you inhale, sit yourself tall, lengthen up. And then with the exhales, you can narrow the waist, press into that leg, and take your gaze over the left shoulder. Staying here for one more breath. As you exhale, bringing yourself back to the centre, untangling the legs. Bringing your feet onto the mat, pointing towards the front of the room, your arms to reach forwards so that you can give yourself a little bit of control to roll yourself down onto your back. Let your shoulders and your head finally find the mat beneath you. And then drawing the soles of the feet together. So the little toes want to stay attached, but the big toes can start to open wide as we take diamond-shaped legs, Baddha Konasana legs. So the legs being nice and heavy, we're going to try and release all of the tension in the hips and just let gravity do its thing. You can close your eyes here. You can choose to either rest your hands onto your inner thighs to act as a little extra weight to assist the stretch. Or maybe you want to place a hand onto your belly and a hand onto your chest. And really tune into the breath. Allow yourself to calm yourself by watching that breath just slowly and steadily coming in and out of the body. And perhaps with that calm that you find, your hips will just start to release, start to find a bit more softness. Each time you breathe in, feel that expanse in the torso. As you breathe out, see if there's something else that you can let go of in your hips. The hips are such a big and tight area for a lot of us. They're just such big, strong muscles that it can take some time for them to release. And I mean that in both senses of per practice and per lifetime. It can take a while to hold a pose like this, to allow those hips to finally decide, oh, okay, I'm going to open up. But also it can take a long, long time and lots of consistent practice to get them to finally stop fighting back. And then you can use your hands to draw your knees back together. Once you're there, we're going to take Plow Pose, so just making sure you have enough space behind you. Once you're down onto your back, you're going to curl your knees in towards your chest, and it's a little bit like a backwards roll. You lift the hips away from the mat, take the hands to the lower back, and maybe the knees to rest to the forehead, or maybe the feet can go all the way out with the toes resting to the mat. You can shuffle your shoulder blades a little closer together underneath you, and keep thinking of the hips going up as the spine tries to find as much length as it can. The breath always feels a little bit more difficult here. So really deep inhale, bring the breath in. And allow yourself to slowly let the breath go. Good, inhale. On the exhale, to come out of this, you can bend those knees again. Think of knees towards forehead, hands onto the mat to act as your brakes. So you can slowly roll the spine back down. And once the pelvis finds the mat, bend the knees. Return the knees to the floor, the feet to the floor, should I say. And then from here, this would be your perfect opportunity to release your legs out and take a couple of moments in Shavasana. The palms to face the sky, the legs go heavy and loose. We're going to take just a short little rest here. And as always, you can choose to elongate your own Shavasana and stay here and pause my video and make me shut up. But let's just take one more nice big inhale together. On the exhale, out through the mouth, let it all go. And then once you're finished with your Shavasana, you can draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself that soft little hug. And making your way up, back to seated, whichever way feels more comfortable for you. And then that brings us to the end of the class. Hopefully you're feeling perhaps more relaxed or a little bit more welcome in your own body, a little bit more free movement. I will get round to working through all the other requests that I had, and if you do have any others that perhaps you missed that on my Instagram, then do feel free to just leave a comment, or you can email me. And I hope to see you back here for another practice either next week, or you can come back before next week and do another video that's already been uploaded. Thank you for practicing with me today. Enjoy the rest of your day.